YouTube channel Nos Confunden.
Chapter 3. The Lands of the Custodians. This parasitic race, as we briefly indicated in the first chapter, are beings that base their technology on attack and defense weapons, using all their potential in the discovery, colonization and exploitation of other lands, as well as the beings they can find.
Nos Confunden.
Their beginning is unclear and full of questions. There are theories among the giants where it is said that the custodial race was attacked by some other race that did not even come from this great dome, and that they merged with the locals to create a great force that later gave origin to the Custodians. This would explain the reason for their great development over other races that were still in their infancy trying to survive within their circles.
Nos Confunden.
The Custodians, it is said, were the first to leave their world and advance on their way to the others with great destructive and colonizing power, having reached each of the worlds and tried to explore around the known end of the worlds. While they have been defeated on at least 2 known occasions by 2 completely different races, it is certain that they are also vengeful and that, if they have not yet tried again, they soon will.
Nos Confunden.
The Custodians, as the only race, were the ones who attempted to enter the celestial lands that very little is known. These lands are the most mysterious of all the known worlds, and while all or almost all the races existing today are aware of this place, very few dare to want to penetrate it.
Nos Confunden.
The story goes that humanity, in a way, comes from these lands, and that each of the humans have the source or life energy, also called soul, that comes from these lands. Therefore, the human destiny is to confront the Custodians, that whatever is done, the great clash will be inevitable.
Nos Confunden.
Although it has already been tried, and the great forces between humans and Custodians have collided, with the help of the Anakim giants and others, history will surely repeat itself again in these lands. For that reason we are very aware of everything that happens here. Any opportunity to free humanity will be used to the fullest. Also, we cannot make the mistakes of the past. Otherwise it is possible that now we may never have another opportunity.
Nos Confunden.
For each reset, the security becomes stronger, and the human standard of living becomes less and less free. The humanity that is living now is nothing like that of my ancestor in these same lands, nor that of my ancestor to the previous one. Each reset is worse, stricter, with less freedom and greater manipulation. We escaped from these lands during the Great War against them. The giants helped us to form a large block and confront them before everything got out of control. Unfortunately, when the hard defeat came, we knew that everything was going to get worse for those born here. Besides, they know that many escaped, and that we would be a danger to all the manipulation and lies in these lands that they spread and control. It would be difficult to generate another new Great Tartary, with all the free technology and the great cities that we were able to forge. The truth is that we had the hope that victory and freedom would finally be ours. But, by those things of destiny, we did not achieve it. We know that it was very close, but it is also true that defeat would bring more misery to a new humanity. The risk was very high. The babies who are less than 7 months old are left at the disposal of the Custodians in these lands, who with their technology take them little by little to a new beginning.
Nos Confunden.
This beginning is sudden and in various parts of the known continents, so there will always be a part that will not have parents, grandparents, and so it will be until forgotten. Once the number they said is reached, they will begin to manipulate the human to take them on the path they have decided. The vestiges of a past life will be intermingled as their own, even if the human of that time cannot reproduce it nor have the necessary tools. Nothing will be questioned as long as everything can be demonstrated by the great leaders or media, scientists, historians, scholars, celebrities, and all kinds of fictitious prestige that they will invent depending on what stage of development the race is in. The technology will be delivered in small installments until it can reach the level that is also previously established by the leaders. The custodians are arrogant beings who detest the human being. For them, the human being is a horrible being, who smells bad and does not deserve any freedom. The custodial leaders are really hostile and always were hostile to our race. That is why they control it, but they also do not allow anything to get out of the pre-established control. They would even carry out a reset before knowing that at least a single human could escape.
Nos confunden.
The leaders many times met with the intention of eliminating the human race, but there was much debate about it, especially for the tasks that are carried out here that would bring much discussion among the same custodians. Plus, there is a small part that has great relationship with the leaders. Many are part of lodges, military or politicians who came to have direct contact with them and were rewarded with their passage to other lands. For example, the existing colony in the lands of Mars. The story of the last reset, where my grandparents were able to escape along with my mother, who at that time was a baby, was due to the Great War that took place in 1/8 these lands more than 250 years ago. Put on alert this race who thought they dominated these lands with ease, until the union of giants and humans really shook their power. In the war, it is said that one of their most important leaders died at the hands of the giants' humans, and this also caused that the new human beginning in these lands, with babies of a few months, was carried out under a strict control and manipulation. It is what we are seeing in the current days, and what we will continue to see in the near future if things do not change. The custodians are carnivores for the most part. Although they can really eat all kinds of food, do they eat human flesh? I will come back to this question later, as I think it is worth talking about. They know agriculture well, being pioneers and experts in that field, something they inculcate and educate the human after each reset to carry out these tasks of agriculture and animal husbandry, so that they can then increase their population as fast as possible.
Nos confunden.
They receive pleasure from human fear or sadness. All that negative energy can be absorbed by them, that they really end up enjoying it. That is why it is common to see great sacrifices in ancient civilizations or great tragedies, the thirst for human blood. They enjoy these sacrifices, and in many stories we can find that they feed on this. They reached a great development in the modification of the climate, and it is common that they create great walls of ice around the colonized lands. This they began to use in the last times, since before they had not reached this development. The walls served them as a great shield to be able to protect or enclose even more the colonized races. In this way, it is very difficult for them to escape, even when they have to leave some worlds by necessity to go in search of another.
YouTube channel Nos confunden.
Chapter 4. The Anunnaki Lands. The famous Anunnaki, another of the colonizing and parasitic races that is sickening the other worlds, manipulating and controlling the children of the children for years and years. Another of our enemies, a hostile and power-hungry race.
Nos confunden.
They are the creators of the pyramids and build these structures in all the worlds they visit. They are, in our opinion, the strongest race within this great dome, even above the Custodians. The technology they use to attack other worlds is incredibly advanced. The weapons of destruction and the facility they have to enter through the domes is also something notorious and that characterizes them and frightens any race.
Nos confunden.
The utilization of portals for transportation led this race to be one step ahead of the others. In fact, it is known the story that they have defeated the Custodians when between them there was a great conflict during the opportunity that we had in the known lands to be able to free ourselves. And they were also the ones who caused us to be defeated in the last known pact between the Custodians and the Anunnaki.
Nos confunden.
This race is confused in several of the stories that are told in the known lands in a casual and often deliberate way. But we find in several stories and books of the known lands the Anunnaki as reptiloid or reptilian beings. But the reality is that they are beings of very tall stature, can reach 5 meters.
Nos confunden.
They live in an arid zone with little vegetation, and although the waters of Horus seem to be paradisiacal beaches from far away, the reality is that they are deep waters, and in them live snake-like animals that can measure up to 55 meters long, and that do not like the visit of other beings from outside.
Nos confunden.
Their skin color is yellow-greenish, although their leaders can have a totally different tonality, but all of them have very dry, scaly skin, and their eyes are distinguished by being yellow, red, or black, and they have a particular iris that other beings also share that is characterized by a cleft, depression, or gap, and can be both uni and bilateral, generally dark in color.
Nos confunden.
During the many civilizations in the known lands, both the Anunnaki and the Custodians, usually the former, have been depicted in many forms with humanoid bodies and with different heads of animal types, reptiles, birds, and a myriad of them, thus confusing the true history of the human being and conditioning the human mind throughout his life by these parasitic beings. They are beings that lack all empathy and are based solely on the oppression of other beings and the conquest, the thirst for power and control. In this they are very similar to the Custodians, and that is why they have preferred to share that position than to kill each other, although tension is always expected between these two races, which could be convenient for all the other worlds that are under their power.
YouTube channel Nos confunden.